Okay. There we go. It only comes once a year, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's a time for family and friends to gather and share the warmth of the fireplace. Across the room, an angel tops the tree. Below her, a line of twinkling lights and glittered ornaments wrap around till its base. Gifts lay beneath, tucked away till morning. You lean back and bask in the Christmas time bliss as the smell of gingerbread gently whisks you away. 'Tis the season not for spending. 'Tis the season for memories, friends, family, lovers, and faith. Thus, I agree with the proposition. Cultural activities, goods, and services should not be treated solely as having commercial value. Many examples justify the motion. I'll present two main points. In my first point, I will provide two personal examples. In my second point, I'll provide a more specific and illustrative example of the motion at hand. If I demonstrate either, I fulfilled my burden. In other words, I have sufficient evidence to prove my case. First, there are numerous things and traditions that have never and will never have monetary value. Some things are just priceless. As I previewed shortly ago, holidays are a perfect example. Be it Ramadan, Moon Festival, Passover, or Independence Day, just to name a few. I've chosen to use my own personal example of Christmas. Although many will argue that Christmas is a major spending holiday, there is another side to this coin. Although holidays may be highly profitable, they are ultimately rooted in celebration. These celebrations are not only special moments of joy and gratitude, but are also part of their cultural identity. Simply, not everything is tied to money. I ask, why must everything have a price tag? To use another and more personal example, I could never place a price on any of the art that I've made. I'm a sculptor and I've been asked to sell my work. I've always chosen not to. I don't make art for the money. I make art because it's what I love to do. It's what makes me happy. My art belongs to me. My art is part of me. I'm sure that some of our most celebrated artists, of all mediums, would agree that art is the expression of creativity and passion, and is therefore priceless. Art is pure emotion, something so personal and beautifully unique that it'd be improper to always place a value. Now that you have a sense of how the motion is true at the personal level, consider my second point. Indigenous African homebrewing is a perfect example of how cultural goods and services have more than commercial value. For those who are unfamiliar with the practice, African brewing is a centuries-old tradition in which indigenous people have used local resources to brew their own special beer. As with many places, alcohol consumption in these areas is a lively social activity. But before I can get into the benefits, I'll present an imminent danger. Indigenous homebrewing is currently threatened. As I have divulged earlier, when things are labeled solely as having commercial value, people tend to forget or even ignore the social impact that commercial interests have. Thus, if African indigenous homebrewing is ignored, it and its attendant benefits will disappear. As author Michael McCall explains in his book, Focus on Gender, if national and community-level institutions and international and bilateral donor agencies continue to disregard women's small-scale brewing, it is likely that a significant sector will eventually be absorbed by male-dominated commercial interests. Thus, there is a sense of exigency. If we disregard this, it will disappear. Furthermore, when homebrewing is solely seen as a commodity, it is therefore just another part of the market, and is therefore fair game, so to speak. International conglomerates believe that they have the authority to eradicate these local traditions and replace them with profitable, Western-produced beer in an effort to modernize these regions. This is nothing more than globalization at its worst. Not only do commercial interests undermine the economic structures of these regions, they also have a grave social impact. As Chris O'Brien explains in his book, Fermenting Revolution, for 10,000 years, brewing has been conducted at home, primarily by women who are entrusted with safeguarding traditions that strengthen social bonds and build community identity. And these indigenous homebrewing methods were subject to global market forces. These local women lose their sense of autonomy. Locally brewed beer is often made and distributed by women. Women have a major voice in establishing community values in regards to alcohol consumption and therefore help curb over-imbibing. Putting beer production in the hands of international corporations strips these women of their sense of power and shatters the social order of these regions. Think of it this way. A sense of danger and urgency can only exist when things bear great significance. Homebrewing provides a multiplicity of values. For example, it provides women with a sense of empowerment and pride. In a largely patriarchal world, such a notion is truly worth protecting. As O'Brien also states, African brewing traditions have withstood the test of time, largely because most brewing continues to be conducted on a small scale at home by women in rural settings. According to one report, a whopping 4 times more homebrew is consumed in Africa than commercial industrial brews. Also, like my personal example, this practice is heavily rooted in tradition. You cannot place a price on tradition. You cannot place a price on culture. Moreover, although the beer in itself is a product, as in a physical thing, the cultural practice of homebrewing, which encompasses the gender relations, sense of empowerment, pride, and traditions of these people, is not a tangible thing. It truly takes a diligent eye to surpass the superficiality associated with cultural activities, goods, and services, and to see the profound qualities beyond commercial values.